Hello, everyone. Oops. You see me? I was like, how old am I anyway?
Yeah. You're old enough to be driving me nuts. Hello, guys. So today we're talking about how to fight food inflation. Now, I got this comment before the show. I thought you just said that you went to the grocery store and your grocery bill actually went down. It did. But just last week, about a week after that video came out, the grocery prices are going up in my grocery store. What was 88 cents for a loaf of bread at Walmart is now 93 cents. Spices are $1.12, although the sign still says 98 cents. That's an interesting one right there. So you want to be careful about that because, I mean, they're basically just stealing from you that way. And so we are talking about how to fight inflation with food today. So we're going to give you 10 tips and we're going to get going. If you guys have questions, Mike's going to pull them. And then when I get done at the end of my 10 tips here, I'm going to answer your questions, okay? All right, number one, use what you already have. Now, I know this goes without saying, but it is amazing how people don't just use what they already have. You've already bought it. You've already paid for it. Use what you have. And I find, honestly, for me, the lower I get on groceries, the more creative I get.
The lower you get, meaning the fewer that you have?
Yeah.
Yes.
The less I have on hand, the more creative I get. And I don't know. It seems like the more groceries I have on hand, the more it's every man for himself night. And then the less groceries we have, I start saying, oh, maybe I need to cook because there's no food for anybody just to pull anything out of the fridge or freezer. So that's what I do. Also, if you've already spent your money on it, don't waste money just going and rebuying it again. If you've already got it, make sure you got it and that you're using it. Now, when I stockpile, I only stockpile foods that I normally use. I don't stockpile weird things to eat. Like, oh my. Look on the bird feeder. So use what you already have, already in your pantry. Number two, shop sales. This week, I'm going to be buying a ham. It's 97 cents on sale, pretty much all over the country. I'm sure you could go anywhere in the United States, maybe with the exception of Alaska, maybe Hawaii, but you could go anywhere in the United States and get 97-cent ham, and if they're in stock, eggs for 99 cents or less. So make sure you shop the sales and stock up when they're on sale. Now, for a ham, if you get a boneless ham, you can, let's see, what are those called? I don't know what you call that. Just a boneless ham, like a, it comes in the little shape, and I don't know.
What kind of ham is vacuum that? Vacuum package?
Yeah.
It's just a
ham, I guess, just a boneless ham. Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking there was a name. And they will slice it to whatever slices you want. So if you want it really super thin for like lunch meats, that type of thing, they can do it really super thin. If I get a ham, I'll do it in have them do it several sizes. So I'll do like half of it in really thin deli slices. I like it really thin for my sandwiches, but then Mom likes the ham steaks. So she does them a little bit thicker, like that big or so, and has a ham steak. And that's like a main dish dinner type thing. And you can do any in between. but have the butcher cut it up for you. A lot of times they'll do that for you for free. And then you don't have to do all that mess at home. So I say go for it. My goodness, if the butcher's going to do it for you, let him do it. Number 3, shop the clearance aisles. Everyone thinks the clearance is, I'm trying to think how to say this, gross, outdated. Yeah, it's food that's going to be outdated, but it's still good for 3 or 4 days. You have to understand, for the stores, it's best by date, or sell by date, not best by date. So they have to sell it by that particular day. But usually with breads and meats and fruits, you still have 3 to 5 days after that. You have like 4 to 5 days for breads, 3 or so days for meat, and about 5 days or so for fruits and vegetables. So get as much as you can on clearance. Like if the boys want a treat for donuts, it's always on the clearance thing. I never, especially 89 cents. It was 89 cents for donuts the other day. Are you kidding me? I ain't paying 89 cents for a donut.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's ridiculous. So if they want donuts, it's on the clearance aisle. I know. I'm a mean and cruel mother. Ask BJ and Ellie. They're the ones that aren't living at home anymore. So I'm sure they'll agree with that, don't you think?
Yeah, they can bring the expensive stuff when they come over. It's funny how living on their own has changed the number of things that they buy.
Yeah, they're pretty frugal too. Okay. We will answer questions as soon as I'm done, guys. So just post them in the comments and Mike will pull them and I'll get them as soon as we're done. Number 4, cook at home. So I have to say, as we were setting up for this show, it was actually pretty discouraging.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, Mike and I almost changed the show because we were like, why are we even talking about this? Nobody really cares. Some of the top videos for saving money on food as we were looking at this, like we're talking 3 million videos one of them had, is how to save money on fast food. Saving money on fast food is not saving money. If you want to actually save money, don't eat fast food. It's just as simple as that. You've got to stop thinking that by going and doing this or that, like one of the tips was buy chicken nuggets at one place instead of another. Okay, that's a good deal to find them cheaper at one place than the other. But just don't buy chicken nuggets. If you want chicken nuggets, go to the grocery store, keep them in your freezer and put them in your air fryer or your toaster oven, or your oven, or just come home and make a sandwich. But stop eating out. Now, one of the best ways, of course, is our Dining on a Dime cookbook. Now, I'm throwing this little ad in here real quick. Mother's Day sale is happening right now. So if you get both Dining 1 and 2 on sale, it's 35% off. Volume 1 and 2, if you purchase them together, it's 35% off. Volume or gluten-free, dairy-free is 35% off. And volume 2 by itself is 35% off. Volume 1 is 25% off if you buy it by yourself. Why? Because we're almost out of books again.
We're going to run out of Dining ones before the new ones come.
So we only have about 180 sets of these left. That's all we have left. So if you want 35% off, you'll have to grab them now, livingonadime.com. And gluten-free, dairy-free, we have several of those in stock, so those are 35% off too. Kathy, we got your Easter card. Thank you so much for that. Number 5, eat leftovers. Now, once again, in our books, all 3 of them have how to use leftovers. We put a leftover guide specifically in Dining 1. So what happened was we wrote the book and then we decided to do a leftover guide. In Dining 2, it's just in the index, okay? Dining 1 has 2 indexes, leftover index and a recipe index. Dining 2, it's all together. But we have how to use leftovers. So when you make a roast, you're not cooking just that roast for that meal. You're cooking ahead for 3 or 4 meals. It's not leftovers. You're just cooking ahead. So you have to stop thinking of it for leftovers. And if you have family members that say, well, I don't eat leftovers. Well, you can tell them.
Just separate it out and make it into the next thing. Don't tell them.
Yeah. You can tell them, don't tell them what Tara's thinking, but just don't even tell them that they're leftovers. They don't need to know. You're just making beef and noodles the next night. You're just making beef fajitas the next night, or, shepherd's pie the next night. So, just don't tell them.
Yeah, we had some kid issues where they were like, that's not fresh. And if you put it in the refrigerator in a little plastic container, they would never touch it.
Mom's like, sorry,
Mom would
Charlie.
just put it in something else, and they were like, this is awesome, Mom.
Yeah.
So
Mary just said that our books have saved her over $300. Was that right? Let's see. $300 so far. I'm telling you guys, the price of the books, the first trip to the grocery store, you will save the price of the books if you just read it. It's not just a cookbook. We have 1,500 tips and recipes in Dining on a Dime, or 1,200 in Dining on a Dime, Volume 1. And in Volume 2, we have over 800 recipes and tips in Volume 2. So
and they're awesome.
It's going to save you some money.
You know what's funny? When we used to cook every show, I would go through, when Tara wasn't around, I would flip through and look for something she hadn't made lately to try it out. And I was surprised how many things there were in our own books that I didn't know were there.
Yeah, we got some really good tips.
So if you've had it for a long time, you should flip through it again and look and see.
Now, number 6 goes kind of with number 5, but stop wasting food. Every time you throw food away, you need to calculate how much money that cost you. You would be surprised. Some families will throw away up to 50% of their groceries. 50%, guys. It's absolutely crazy. 50%. That's a lot of wasted food. And figure out how many hours you have to work to pay for that. So think about it. You make $20 an hour. You throw away $200 worth of food. You just worked 12, 13 hours because you got to pay taxes on that money. You just work 12 to 13 hours, maybe 15, depending on how much your husband makes, to pay for food that you then spent time to go buy, time to cook, and then you just throw it away. Let that sink in. Nobody walks it all the way through. Yeah, that's intense.
Actually, what's funny is we try not to, anything that's left over, we try not to throw out even little bits of it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, today there were like 2 tiny pieces of chicken and like 2 tablespoons of beans and a bunch of other stuff, and I just threw it all together for lunch because I'll eat anything. Like, I guess most husbands are at the trash cans, right? but it was a way to not waste it. Have a whole nother.
Katie wants to know if a bar of mozzarella has an expired date on it and it has not been opened, is it still good? Usually it is. Even if it has mold on it, I will cut it off and use the cheese. Think about it. Cheese is just mold. I mean, that's all it is. It's just grown in mold. And so I just cut the mold off and continue to use it, and no problems. All right, number 7, stop buying food in bulk. Now, a lot of people will use online bulk services, or they'll go to Costco or Sam's. I know, but buying in bulk doesn't necessarily save you money. I saw another YouTuber doing a big grocery haul, and she was saying how she got this food online and how it's so great because it's organic this and that and all that. Well, come to find out, she paid twice as much for the cheese she got as I would just pay on sale at the grocery store. Sorry, that kind of stuff, you're just going to have to stop. If food is getting expensive enough that you are having to not, if you're not being able to afford it, you can't be picky and buy expensive stuff like that. Which goes into number 8, Stop being picky. Oh my goodness, people. If you can't buy your boneless, skinless chicken breasts, then go ahead and get something like the chicken quarters. The other day with my chicken video that I put out on, what was it, Monday, about how the chicken was all gone. All of the boneless, skinless chicken breasts were gone. There was like 3 or 4 packages of drumsticks left for 99 cents a pound. And then there was like 6 or 7 packages of chicken quarters for 69 cents a pound. Nobody ever buys the chicken quarters. Just put them in your pan, sprinkle some seasoned salt in them, throw them in your oven and bake them for an hour, and it's delicious. Use the roast sticky chicken recipe in Dining on a Dime, the roast chicken recipe, Dining on a Dime, maple glazed chicken, honey glazed chicken. All of those work really good with the chicken quarters. Volume 2, we've got stuff like chicken Alfredo. You can cook them up in your Instant Pot or in the oven.
Somebody was just saying the other day how
delicious.
much they absolutely love that one, but that's one we love a lot too.
So when you put that, just roast it and then peel off the meat and use it for dishes like chicken Alfredo or chicken soup. Of course, save the bones, make some broth, throw it in your Instant Pot with an onion and a carrot for 3 hours, or just put it on the stovetop and let it simmer for 6 or 8 hours, or put it in your crock pot for 6 or 8 hours and just let it simmer. And then you have chicken soup the next day. It's a super easy, guys, there's still lots and lots of super cheap ways to eat, but you can't be picky about it.
Well, and the picky people are the ones that are going to suffer the most when the prices are really, really high, because like Tara was talking about thighs and leg quarters and stuff like that. And man, they are good. And there was a time where we really couldn't afford any more than that. And I was really surprised how good they were, because I was a little bit of a boneless, skinless chicken breast snob before that. I like to cook them that way because it's just convenient and easy.
But to Mike's credit, even though he's a boneless, skinless chicken snob, he's never complained when I have made chicken with bone in.
I like the bone in. I like the taste better of the dark meat chicken, but just I don't like picking it off the bone as much. But that's really a preference, and like I said,
but you've never complained, so I have to give you credit for that.
No, and what I've done for myself occasionally, if it's something that has a lot of bones or a lot of something, is I've cut it off the bone.
Yeah. So Bonnie wants to know, how long is meat good in the freezer? 6 to 9 months. You can go a year sometimes, but 6 to 9 months easily. If you vacuum seal it, you can easily get a year out. If you guys have questions, Mike's pulling them, so he will put them in a document, and then we'll do questions as soon as we're done. Number 9, look for free food. You're like, Tara, what are you talking about? You would be amazed how much free food is out there. I mean, all the time I'm getting free food. How am I getting free food? Well, I will do school parties, church parties, church potlucks, athletics for the kids. If they have dinners or snacks or something like that, you would be amazed how many people, when they say, take home whatever you want, we've got X left over, come and get it. How many people don't take it home? I'm like shocked at how many people don't take it home. One time we had, we fed, it was for VBS is what it was. And they needed me to feed 75 people for $100, which I wasn't real happy about, because even for me, that was pretty good. And I did a video on it. I should have Mike share it, but I think it was $100. And I fed 75 people for $100 with sandwiches and chips and everything. Well, and grapes and strawberries and all this stuff. I think. I can't remember for sure. It's been like 5 or 6 years. I've never done VBS since then. And I will never do VBS again.
Too many chiefs. Too many chiefs.
Oh my goodness.
Not enough organization. Too many chiefs and not enough organizers.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, there was still a lot of food left over. Nobody wanted to take it home. So I was like, well, I'll take it home. And I froze tons of lunch meat and cheese. And I'm not kidding. I probably didn't buy lunch meat and cheese for 6 months after that, because I was able to get so much food for that $100. I mean, even though I did really well, but they just had a lot of food left over. And so, and I didn't overestimate or anything. I just went on what they gave me. So, I wasn't like preparing too much food. But look for free food and take it home and eat it. I mean, if I was at a potluck or something and there was lasagna left over, shoot, we'd be taking that home and eat it if they didn't want it. So there's a lot of places that you can get free food like that. Number 10, eat. Do you think they're prepared for this one?
I definitely need that one.
Well, I do too. But do you think they can handle it?
I think the ones that have our problem can't handle it.
Eat less food.
What?
I know. But guys, Americans' portions have just gotten ridiculous. It's why we're all overweight. I have the same problem. Mike's got the same problem. We're all in the same boat. I totally get it. But if you want to start saving some money, you may just have to start eating less food.
I wonder if therapy costs less than food. Pretty soon it might.
No, I heard somebody say it was $120 an hour, so I don't think it is.
Who can relate? Jack, what is that you guys say? L in the chat or something like that?
What?
What is it you say? Something,
F in the chat?
F in the chat. Yeah. To show your solidarity.
So not only will you be doing better because you'll lose weight and probably 90% of your 90% of your health problems will go away, but and I'm preaching to the choir here. I know, but you've got to do what you got to do when things start getting really tight. And I saw, was it Sri Lanka? I think it was Sri Lanka. I think yesterday I saw this just short clip on how they're having major shortages there. And I was like, seriously, as Americans, guys, keep it all in perspective. I mean, I know food prices have gone up, but it hasn't gotten to the point where people just can't eat yet. And, I was watching this video in Sri Lanka and they were like, yeah, well, we're down to eating twice instead of 3 times a day now because we can't afford it. We used to be able to live on $3 a day and now it's costing us $9 a day. Well, $3 a day to $9 a day is major, guys, major. I mean, the average American family, let's say what, $5,000 a month, we'll say. That's what, almost $60,000 a year. So let's say they live on $5,000 a month. That would be like having to go from 5,000 to 15 for us.
To 15 what?
Well, if we had to go from $3 to $9 a day to eat.
Oh.
I mean, they're doing a day, but for us, that would be like, so that would be $166 a day for Americans. So that would go from, let's say $150. You'd go from $150 a day that Americans spend to $450 a day. I mean, that's huge to have to go that big of a jump. That's hyperinflation. That's like ridiculously hyperinflation. So you've got to keep it in perspective. We are not Sri Lanka and we're not Venezuela yet.
Well, actually, it's funny.
Doesn't mean we're not going there, because I really think we probably will end up there, but we're not there yet.
It's funny because I saw a picture that there was a story talking about how difficult the food inflation is, and it showed these people with these giant heaped over the top grocery carts, and I'm thinking, wow, and that to me that was a perspective moment, thinking, at least you can buy stuff.
Yeah.
And but I do think that right now part of the issue is inflation is high, and probably higher than the reporting, and there's not a lot of action being taken. Well, there's been a lot of action taken in the government to create a greater problem with it, but not a lot of action being taken to try to address that problem, which means it's probably going to be getting a lot worse and continuing on for the moment. And it's not a reason to completely panic and freak out, but it is a good reason to be watching your spending and learning ways to spend less, and in some ways deal with less. Some things, like in our family, when the gas price has gone up really a lot, and especially when we had very little money, we would have to figure out other things that we just couldn't get as much of as we were accustomed to in order to be able to do that, or not drive as much or whatever. Unfortunately, if gas prices persist high for a long time, that causes prices of everything to go up. So in that case, unfortunately, you have to kind of figure out ways to do with less of the things that you're used to doing more with.
Okay, so there seems to be some confusion. So the Sri Lanka people said that they lived for their everything. They paid for $3 a day, and now it's costing them $9 a day. So what I was saying was, if an American family makes $60,000 a year, that's about $150. It's 166, but we'll say $150 a day for us to live, for housing, food, and everything. That would be like us having to go from $150 a day to $450 a day. So I was talking about all your expenses, not just food. But you've got to keep it in perspective and realize that even though things are getting bad, we still have it okay for the moment. There are things you can do, but we still have it okay for the moment. Doesn't mean it ain't going to happen. I really think it's going to happen. I think, I see the writing on the wall, and so yeah, I'll just do that. But I have no idea what I'm talking about. Ellie, is that our Ellie? Ellie?
Yep, she just said hi a little bit ago.
Hello, my daughter. I love you. All right, questions.
Actually, it's funny because there were a few other people that weren't that fond of the bones. I'll tell you what, I don't like chicken wings at all because it's like 50% bones. So when it comes to those, I'm gracefully, if Tara made it for dinner, I would eat it. And one time recently we were out with some friends who got some, and I ate a little bit, but in general, I would just not get them. Because
you don't like the bones.
Although the chicken wings aren't really something that you eat for the most part too.
All right, Julie says volume 1 is my encyclopedia to go to for my recipes. Thank you. By the way, if you guys buy them both, 35% off right now for our Mother's Day sale. Gluten-free, and volume 2 by themselves are also 30% off. And we only have 180 as the start of the show left of the volume 1 and 2 sets that are on sale. We are almost out of books again. It looks like it's going to be summer around the 1st of June before we get the next set. So if you guys want some, let us know. All right.
A lot of people loving
questions.
Wings.
All right.
That's awesome. See, I'm keeping your wings prices low by not buying them.
All right. Do you want to email me questions or do you want to read them?
We can. That's fine. We can read them. Oh, Ellie's interacting with people. Biscuit donuts are so tasty, she says. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. The biscuit donuts in Dining on a Dime cookbook. Which somebody, we won't mention her name, Ellie, never uses her mother's cookbook. And I'm like, there's a great recipe for that in there. She's like, oh, mother, it's not on the computer. I'm like, it is too. It's on our website. But she won't listen to her own mother.
Kids have to grow up and separate from their parents.
I never listened to my mother either, so I'm okay with it.
I don't listen to your mother either. Actually, Utah Mike here says be willing to go meatless a couple times a week. Sure. I mean, that's one of the tips we sometimes share. Christy, what is your opinion on today's CPI 8.5% inflation rate? Do you think it's accurate?
So here's the thing on inflation. Yeah, I think it's probably accurate. I mean, I'm sure the government is cooking the books somewhat. But here's the thing. Rents. Okay, I know rents are going through the roof. But with people moving all over creation and all of this, rents are going to be high. It's just the way it is. In Denver, where we used to live, where we are now, there are a lot of people moving in. When there are people moving into places, rents are going to be higher. Rents are just going up in general. Cars are more expensive right now because of the whole thing going around that causes supply chain issues. They're going to be more expensive because you can't get parts. So that makes sense. Food, I mean, I think that is basic inflation, and I would say it's around 7 to 10%. So 8.9 or whatever sounds about right. So I would say, in my mind, yeah, they're probably cooking the books somewhere, but they, it seems about right for me. At the grocery store, it seems about 7%, 7 to 10% on certain things. So
I think it depends on what you get, because I would say let's say the Tar says cook in the books. Let's say that they position things to be in the best possible scenario for what they're trying to accomplish, but which is to say they're manipulating the reporting of the books to give you the number that looks the best. But that being said, basically, how much do you have to pay more than you usually do, percentage-wise, is kind of what really matters, because inflation is more in some places and less in other places, depending on how the supply is getting there. And
I got them blocked, guys.
Some of the other things that, something else I was going to say on that. Yes. Some things like the rents. I know Tara mentioned this, but a lot of people say my rents are really high right here in downtown Denver, or they're really high here in greater Los Angeles. Well, the thing is, the rents being high is not necessarily inflation in general, as much as it is that people are just desiring to move to that area a lot. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about inflation, when you hear all the talk about inflation in the news or whatever, that's not necessarily what's causing the prices of the housing to be more. Yeah. It eventually will cause it to be more everywhere because the value of the dollar should be less.
Yeah. And guys, all these places paying $15 an hour, I'm sorry, but prices are going to go up. If Walmart is having to pay kids $15 an hour instead of $10 an hour to stock shelves, your prices are going to go up. So you can't demand a living wage, which is ridiculous anyway. Don't get me started on that one. And then expect prices to stay low. Honestly, I think inflation is just going up with the way people are wanting higher wages. Now, gas is 100% the fault of the person that is in charge of our country in 2022 right now. I mean, if you're going to shut down all of our resources in the United States for getting gas, then our gas is going to go up. That's just the way it works. So while everything is going up, it's not necessarily just inflation that's the cause of it. So anyway, that's the long version of that. All right, give me the next one, dear.
Did you see this? Deneen super chatted $5. Just bought both your cookbooks. I love y'all so much. Yay. Thank you.
Thanks. 35% off right now, guys. If you want them for our Mother's Day sale is going on right now, and we are almost out of books. So if you want some for Mother's Day, and the sale ends when we're out of supply. So just so you know, if the sale is still up and the product is still there, then you'll know that we still have some in stock.
Yep. Lady Hawk left a comment saying, asking if we would answer her question about the books. I do not see your question about the books, so if you could restate it, that would be awesome. Sometimes it scrolls off the screen and we can't see it anymore. Okay. So this is actually someone else was talking about it, but well, Ugly Jazz 41 says shop at 3 stores to buy food, and it looks like she says cheap prices at Aldi, which is definitely a great store if you have it.
We don't have Aldi here in Wyoming, but I mean that's where we used to shop when we lived in Kansas, and we really liked it. So yeah. All right, next one.
Samoyed says, what amazes me is people in my city are constantly complaining how expensive everything is, but they're the same ones eating breakfast at McDonald's or Tim Hortons every morning. And then she put in some of those emojis.
Yeah. I know. Don't get me started.
Well,
it's
we
like,
do hear, we do hear a lot of that, but it's hard to get down the main street in our town because the traffic out of the Wendy's drive-through is so long.
Yeah. She says we're the happiest couple she's ever seen.
Oh, thanks.
You haven't seen us behind the scenes.
Oh.
Actually, we do pretty good.
We do pretty well. Yeah.
We don't fight too much.
Pam says, and farmers markets in May as a way to save. And I think farmers markets are kind of like garage sales. Sometimes they're really great, and oftentimes they're not.
Farmers markets can be a big ripoff. I'm sorry. I know the farmers need to get paid for their work, and I totally get that. But you don't necessarily save money at farmers markets. So, I mean, occasionally, like one time I was at a farmers market selling something. What was I selling? Oh, the book. I was selling the book at the farmers market. And it was the end of the day, and the guy next to me, I'd been talking to him all day long. And at the end of the day, he had a whole bunch of bell peppers left over. And I got a box, a banana box, huge banana box of bell peppers for $1. So you can get good deals like that. But nowadays, farmers markets aren't like they used to be. They used to be a really good deal, but now they're not so much anymore.
Marina, sorry, I just had to answer out of order here, but oops. Do you have an electronic book? Yes, we do. You can find those in the ebook section on our store at livingonadime.com. But
we do ship to Puerto Rico.
But you said I live in Puerto Rico, and I heard you say don't ship out of the U.S. But since Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., we are able to ship there. So yay.
Yeah, we do ship to Puerto Rico.
Yep, the shipping, it doesn't cost. We don't have to deal with the issues that are preventing us from sending it to other places.
Between the European VAT tax, the blockades, and all of the customs issues we were having in Canada, we have just had to say that we don't ship any place unless it's a U.S. destination. I'm really sorry. I'm super sorry. We have tried and tried and tried for years, and it's just cost us. It costs us literally hundreds of dollars for messed up orders.
Basically,
we just couldn't keep doing it anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the other countries outside the U.S. have sent us things wanting us to set up infrastructure in our business to do tax reporting to them, and we just can't afford it.
No. So while Mike's getting the next question, KNS says, I have Dining on a Dime 20th anniversary. That is this volume here. Volume 2 is the new edition with all new recipes. Okay, so just so you know.
And one thing, as Tara was talking about living wage and all that, I think people get it confused on that because they think, wow, you know, all these people, you know, how can they be expected to live on that? Jobs that pay minimum wage are not designed to be
career
living jobs, career jobs. And
those are starter teenager jobs.
So the thing is that a lot of people try to get the government to raise minimum wage, but you can make a higher wage much faster if you just keep your eye open and try to get a different job that pays more.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I would suggest, because I think the people that promote that don't really care about you individually, and you can go out and, you know, take some action and get something that's better. Now it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, especially at the beginning, but once you get into that mindset, it becomes a lot easier. So
the 2004 edition is this one, Elizabeth, but this has 40 new recipes in it, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Gotcha. JJ, hello from Poland. It's the middle of the night here, but my little guy is 6, so I'm up as well.
Oh, sorry.
Inflation is getting really crazy here as well. It's a shame you do not deliver your books overseas.
Yeah,
Sorry
that's
about
why.
that. Yeah,
I'm sorry. We've tried and tried, and it's just gotten to the point where the last one I lost like $150 on one order trying to get it into Canada, and I was just like, you know what? We got to stop this. We can't afford to pay to ship them outside the US. It was just getting to be too much. So
it's funny though, if we were going overseas, we could just bring bags and like extra suitcases.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not sure, Marie, if you mean food. Do you buy anything from Amazon? If yes, what do you recommend?
I do sometimes. Like I can't find my gluten-free crackers that I really like. I like those gluten-free crackers. And now in Wyoming, I can't find them at all. So I do get some, occasionally I'll get some things like that on Amazon. I don't shop regularly on Amazon though, because a lot of times the prices just are way too expensive. But those crackers, if I buy them by the 6 or the dozen, I can get them for about the same price as the store. So stuff like that I do. Okay, Michael put the links in. Well, give me a question while I'm answering the next question. Please put the links in.
For what?
I don't know. I just need a question. The links for the books.
No, okay, links for the books. Actually, I was just thinking, Beth says, I know you're getting snow in Wyoming, but I've started my garden for this year already. Oh, you should talk about that.
Okay, let's see. Is there any apps for getting discounts on gas? I have no idea.
I'm sure there are, but we don't know which
but I don't know.
ones. They're probably ones that people
Yeah.
self-report where the price is the best.
Yeah.
The one thing though that helped us the most was trying to not go as many places, like try to put different errands together. Like
Yeah.
where if we would run this place or that place, try to save the errands for once or twice a week and then just go fewer times to the store.
Put the link in for the books. Susan, how are you feeling? I'm not feeling very good. Actually, I haven't been feeling good since we moved. I've been really, really super tired. I can't get motivated to do anything. I don't know. The other day I got to thinking that I might be having some heart issues that I didn't realize. And so I was like, well, maybe I'm having some problem like that. And I just didn't know it because I've just been like, I never take naps. And I feel like I have to almost take a nap every day just to keep myself going. And I'm sleeping like 8 hours a night. So it's not like I'm not sleeping at night. But the other day, I was wondering if I was having some heart issues or if maybe I had a stroke or something and I didn't know it. I guess you can have a stroke and not know it. But I've had some symptoms that I'm like, well, maybe that's what it is. So I made an appointment with the doctor and they can get me in May 9th. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Sure, I'll wait. I gotta love Obama. Sorry. Had to put that in there. The Affordable Care is just...
We had just gotten to be able to afford medical insurance, and then when that thing came in, it knocked us off, and we couldn't afford it anymore.
So anyway.
Dawn, maybe people in Detroit can run over the border with your books, LOL. Actually, what's funny is we do get people that say, I have a cousin or a niece or somebody who lives on the U.S. side of the border, and so they'll have us ship books to the U.S. and then their family takes it to them. So I always thought that would be kind of funny.
All right, next question.
Actually, I'm almost out of ones I had on my list. Kimberly lives on a farm. July will hit and be bad. Wheat shortages. Stock up on flour, sugar, and yeast now.
So, okay. So what do I think about the farmer shortages? I think that it is a very real possibility. And I would say if you can, I would stock up on those things. I would stock up. I don't think Kimberly and everybody else. I mean, if there's no fertilizer, okay, people have to understand. There's a reason why organic gardening isn't mass produced or whatever you want to call it. There's a reason why organic gardening is not the way farmers farm, because you cannot produce a good quantity of food without fertilizer. If there's no fertilizer, they're not going to be able to grow very much food. Out here in the West, they're talking drought again. So I definitely see the signs of stocking up. I mean, that I would stock up because I think it's just inevitable, to be honest. And honestly, our stock, when we moved, we got rid of probably 80% of our stockpile when we moved. Some of it was getting older, that kind of thing. Some of it I gave to neighbors who'd helped us out over the years a lot to give it to them. So our stockpile is nothing close to what it was before we moved. And we've been getting more stuff. And honestly, if I could, well, I mean, we can. But honestly, I'm kind of sick of stockpiling, I'll be honest. We've been doing it for what, 4 or 5 months. Every time we go to the grocery store, we make sure the cart is full of stuff, you know, but I'm getting kind of sick and tired of stockpiling. I have a whole bunch of stuff sitting down there right now that I need to get organized. But I mean, we probably have what, 3 months worth of food, maybe, if all of us were here. So, I mean, we're doing good, but I don't know. I see it coming. I think it's coming. The Bible definitely says it's coming.
Just doesn't say when.
It just doesn't say when. I mean, the Bible's very specific. We're going to have droughts. We're going to have bugs. We're going to have diseases. We're going to have famines. It's all right there. And it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So, you know, yeah. So, okay, next question.
Leslie, does yeast go bad? Is it something that can be stored long term?
Yeast does go bad. Now, if you want to store it longer term, put it in the freezer. And I've had yeast up to 5 years in the freezer still be good. So how you test it is when you put it in your warm water, if it foams, it's still working. If it doesn't foam, it's dead. But yes, yeast can go bad.
Jane Moore, hopefully it's just stress and not a health problem.
Well, that's just it. They keep telling me it's just stress. It's just stress. So I haven't done anything for like almost 6 months now, and I'm not getting any better. As a matter of fact, I feel like I'm getting worse, but I don't know. So anyway.
A lot of people suggesting Nakia could be you're just deficient in something. Cindy, have you had your thyroid tested? Nancy Drew says thyroid issues affect energy too. Altitude, maybe. We're actually at a lower elevation than we were in Colorado. So
we're at a lower elevation now. I just went through a whole treatment with another doctor for thyroid. He thought I had Hashimoto's. I went through the whole treatment for 2 months. I did a whole food elimination thing and all this. And I mean, it helped a little bit with my food sensitivities, but I'm not really feeling better. So.
Leanne says menopause, probably what's going on right now. I had fibromyalgia at 53. Menopause started around 46, affected my sleep. Times I couldn't sleep at all, and there were times I could sleep all day.
Yeah, but there's nothing they'll do for that. So
all day. Yeah,
I don't sleep all day. I just am really tired and don't feel like doing anything. I mean, I'll take a nap, but I just am tired and don't feel like doing anything.
How can you store flour long term? Did you already answer that?
So, okay, so if you want to store flour for long term, say longer than a year, year and a half, then you got to get prepper full blown. And by doing that, you need to get 5-gallon buckets, line them with Mylar bags, and put oxygen absorbers in there and close it. That's the way you can store it for 5 years or so. You can also vacuum seal them. You can also can dry the flour, which I personally think is a huge waste of time and energy, but if you want to do it, go ahead. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when food shortages have happened in the past, there's almost always been some sort of food. Now, the potato famine in Ireland, there was food. The problem was they were selling it to the English rich people. And so the Irish peasants were just left with the potatoes, and then the blight came around and killed everything. There was actually food. The Depression, there was still food around. It was just hard to get and expensive. And so it may be that you're going to have to get really creative. If we actually have real major food issues, you may just have to get creative on what you're eating, how you're eating, that type of thing.
And a few other people said it could be the after effects from that thing going around that you had. We had it in January, and I have same issues with exhaustion, etc., due to my fibromyalgia. Yeah, we were wondering about that because we had a different variation of it. Was it in January?
Yeah.
So
the only thing that made me wonder was I was messing with my thyroid in January and February. And when I went back to look at my test results, it said that some sort of cardiac something or another was high and that I was at a high risk for a cardiac event. So that's why I was starting to wonder if maybe it was something that I didn't realize with my heart or something. So yeah, I've been like this for 4, 5 months, maybe 6 months already. So we'll see. But I was doing things like slurring my speech. And in some of my videos, you could see that my mouth was kind of doing weird things and my eyeball was doing weird things. So that's why I was kind of like, I wonder if that's maybe what it was.
I just thought it was funny the way you said your eyeball. Actually, we didn't really notice it till somebody pointed it out. So
yeah, actually, one of my viewers pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, she's right. Well, no, I started noticing the slurring and stuff like that, but she noticed my mouth. But, well, and I had noticed that too, but yeah. So anyway.
I I meant to ask you, somebody, I don't know if I reported the question earlier, but somebody had asked if you think that there's any reason why you shouldn't. I think she was asking about going to the store to shop versus calling in and having them do that. Shopping
delivery versus shopping at the store,
or the pickup versus shopping at the store.
I have no problem with that. I mean, if you want to. The only thing is now with different shortages on things, you'll probably get substitutions for stuff, and you may not be happy about that, and you'll just have to return it or not accept it then. But when we were doing it in Colorado,
it was fine.
I really liked it, and I used it all the time.
Well, and when they had to do substitutions, I think they were extra careful to pick good things so that you wouldn't return them.
Well,
and if you did substitutions, didn't they usually give you a higher value?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sometimes what they did was like I would get the Walmart brand of, let's say, sausages or something, and then they would give me the name brand that was like $2 more. So sometimes I got some really good deals from doing it that way. So yeah,
I'm keeping track of a lot of people are suggesting things like checking your vitamin D. And
my vitamin D is fine. My thyroid test is fine. This last doctor thought maybe I had Hashimoto's, but when I did the treatment, I didn't change.
Sherry said you need a 2-day uptake test for thyroid. Not sure, because sometimes thyroid issues don't show up on a regular test.
Yeah, I know.
So you know
but
about that.
Guys, I've dealt with my thyroid up the wazoo. I'm pretty sure something is wrong with my thyroid, but my tests are normal. And I was on thyroid medicine for a little while, 10 years ago, and it helped. But then I couldn't get it adjusted right. And then the regular doctor wouldn't work with me, and I can't get any regular doctors to work with me on it. So.
Oh, I totally lost the thing, but somebody had said that they work at a Walmart where 99% of the stuff is generally in stock. So it's good to know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we wonder about our Walmart because sometimes things are out, but we're kind of at the edge of the supply chain. So it's funny because some people say your prices are way lower than ours, but we're at the edge of the supply chain. So ours, if you're paying a lot more than we are, then you're probably not shopping at the right stores in your area.
I've done a sleep study before, and I don't have sleep apnea. I know, guys, when I say I've done it all, I've done it all. I'm not kidding. I've spent we're probably 50 grand out of pocket on top of insurance. And so believe me, I've spent it. I went to the endocrinologist last year, and she was like, no, you don't have Hashimoto's. I went back to functional medicine in January, and he's like, yes, you do have Hashimoto's. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I don't care. Just figure it out, people.
I like the way Vanessa thinks. Vanessa's Farm Life. Vanessa says, you need a long vacation with lots of rest and room service.
I know. You know what's funny about that? that's true. For the $50,000 I've spent going to all these doctors, that's one reason why I just really don't want to go to the doctor, because I'm like, I don't want to spend all this money. But I could have had 10 vacations for that. And you read all these books where the mother just collapses. Mom and I read all these books from the 1800s to early 1900s. And the mom will collapse. And then they'll have to send her to the seashore for the summer. And then the daughter falls in love with somebody or another there. And so, so maybe that would be good for Ellie.
Yeah, it's funny.
If I collapse and she could come with me to the seashore and fall in love.
I don't know if she would want to come for that reason.
But there are times where I have thought, I'm not a big ocean person.
I am.
I don't like the sand. Sand irritates me to no end. But there are times I have wondered, I just wonder if I rent a house and go sit for 3 months on the beach somewhere, if I would start feeling better. But back to my story. The only time I felt better is when Ellie was in NICU when she was born. So she was born and she had to be flight for life the day she was born from our town to Spokane because she had a hole in her lung. And we were at the Ronald McDonald's house. They gave us food vouchers so we could eat at the cafeteria. I didn't have to worry about food. I didn't have to worry about anything. Mom had BJ for a little bit until he came up with us. He was a toddler then, but I had an epidural and I was feeling good from that. And I didn't have to worry about anything. And I'm like, I just need somebody to bring me food, all 3 meals, and just go sit on the beach. Is there even a place that does that? Is that something that
does what again?
Where you can just go sit on the beach and have people bring food to you?
Yeah, that's called a resort.
Oh.
Last summer, I think I said, hey, I found this place that nobody's going to because
of that thing going around.
Nobody was wanting to travel, and I found a resort that was there, and I had talked to some people that had gone there, and they said hardly anyone was there, and that's
what I need.
That's what I was thinking is Tara didn't like to travel. After we went to Europe the last time, she said, I don't think traveling is my thing. Well, we were staying in Airbnbs and, stuff like that. And even though it was really cool, I was thinking what Tara would do better with is less time on a vacation and more pampering.
And even like one of our viewers 2 years ago let me use her cabin for a week, and that was great. I mean, it was absolutely great, but I wasn't really feeling better afterwards. I thought maybe I would, and it was great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was super glad that I was able to do it, but I don't know this feels different than my chronic fatigue syndrome and my fibromyalgia. But yeah, I've tried low dose naltrexone. I was doing that last year. I don't know. That maybe helped a little bit, but I don't know. And all of that. So anyway, okay. Any other questions?
Deborah, did you see my call for help? I'm not sure what that is about.
Reposted, Deborah.
Yeah, if you could repost it, that would be helpful. Yeah. A hotel with a hot tub. Yeah, I think she needs even more than that, though. I think what would be great is kind of the classic movie, going to a resort and sitting on the beach and reading a book, and then going to the hot tub, and then having somebody take food to you, and sitting where it's totally quiet and there's just the sound of waves and nothing else. And I guess that's not totally
great.
Quiet, but yeah. Actually, it's funny because I used to be a travel agent years and years and years ago, and I had seen this one resort, and I recently looked to see, I wonder how much that resort is. It was like $20,000 a week or something. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. We're not making that much money right now.
No, but
despite what some people say, we're not.
That's the kind of thing, though, that would be awesome. If you could have that. But
yeah. The LDN, I could try a higher dose, maybe. I don't know, but Okay, if you guys had a question that we didn't answer, repost it because I think Mike's totally lost everything. So
Susan wants to know if the brain zapping helped.
So it did for a little while, and then it didn't. And she did warn me of that some people have to go back and have it tweaked and do it a few more times. But that was in Colorado and we're in Wyoming, so I haven't gone and done it. But
H. Smith was saying you should try lysine.
Yeah, I have.
We're kind of a family that's very friendly to lysine.
I have.
And MLE says, I'm a new follower, so forgive the question. Did you, your mom, brother ever determine exactly what it was that made you sick?
No, well, it was probably Epstein-Barr. We all came down with the flu, and nobody knew what that was, but we all came down with the same flu, and we just never got better. But later, when we were on the CDC's study group, we had Epstein-Barr. So that probably was what triggered it. How do you store pasta for long-term storage, Faith? Vacuum seal it. Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers is another way. You can do it both ways, but I don't do that. Pasta, because it's dried, will last quite a long time without doing anything special to it. I mean, we're talking 3 to 5 years, so I would be okay with that.
Yeah, Jennifer, the long COVID thing had come up as a possible thing that we were wondering about because others of us have symptoms, although she has different symptoms than the rest of us, so weren't really sure.
Yeah.
What happened with the chainsaw kitchen, or what's happening with it? Kimberly wants to know. I was just wondering that this morning.
What happened with my chainsaw kitchen? We're we're just waiting for money. We have to order more books again. So we have a batch. So we're about ready. 35% off, guys, right now. My little plug. It's our Mother's Day sale, but we're almost out of volume 1 right now. We have enough volume 2 and gluten-free, dairy-free right now, but volume 1 we're almost out of. But we have a set of books on the way that'll be here around June 1st. But we're having to order another set, and this time we're ordering 10,000 so that we can hopefully have enough to get us through for more than a couple of months. And that's a big chunk of change. So all that money is going into inventory for us, and we aren't doing any extra things like remodeling the kitchen or paying off the house yet. So, but we're anticipate starting that in May, but I don't know when we're going to do the kitchen. I would love to just do it like today, but finding people to do stuff here is kind of hard too. It's always a problem in small towns.
Yeah, we were realizing we may have to do some of that ourselves. We were trying to put in a wood stove that we already own, and they wanted $5,500 to put it in. And I was thinking, man, for that I would go down and get a building permit and put it in. I mean, it's not something I really want to do, and I don't really like doing.
They want $5,000 for 4 hours worth of work.
For $5,500, it would take me a lot more than 4 hours, but it would be a lot
you
less than $5,000 worth of my time.
But I don't think it would take you more than a day.
Probably not.
Maybe to put the hearth, maybe it'd take 2 days to put the hearth in and install the stove. But my goodness, $5,500. And I'm not kidding. It's like 4 hours worth of work for them to do. And I asked for an itemized bill and they wouldn't give me one. And I was like, yeah, I ain't paying $5,500. I'm not paying your people $1,000 an hour to install a stove. My goodness. Yeah. So anyway, welcome. Yeah. I know I've lived in small towns before, and I know how hard it is to get people to do stuff. And so for the kitchen remodel, we may just have to do it ourselves and see if we can hire someone to finish the drywall for us and countertops.
Wyoming Yeti from Douglas said, welcome to Wyoming. Yes. When we lived in Idaho, we had the same issue. That was where I actually learned to do things because we had a pipe burst and we couldn't get anyone to come do it. And we're like, we can't turn the water onto our house at all because the pipe is burst.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool to learn.
Yeah. Jay Moore says $5,500 to put it in. It cost me less for a hearth stove and installation. I know. We already have the stove. I already have all the piping.
Well, and that
includes like $750 on the high side of parts they might need. But I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
Well, and Louise says you're paying for their knowledge, which is true. And I
True,
think,
but $1,000 an hour for knowledge.
well, but the thing is, I mean, if there was so much demand for something that we did, would you take the most money that people
oh,
would
I'm
give you
not
for it?
blaming them. I'm just saying I'm not going to pay that.
I think they just charge a lot because either they don't want to do the job or
Yeah.
they have so much business that if they raise the prices and people still pay it, then
Yeah.
why not?
I'm sure. Yeah.
But for us, we would do our own for that price. In fact,
Yeah.
we were putting, did you talk about the raised garden beds?
No.
We were building raised garden beds the other day. So
Yeah, we were building raised beds before it snowed, doing it ourselves. So we do a lot ourselves, but yeah.
stark contrast, I have to figure out how to disassemble and rewire my dryer because no one will come here to fix it. Hazards of small town living. Actually, YouTube is really good for a lot of that.
Yeah.
The main thing is just make sure you unplug it.
Yeah. Carol, did we like Idaho? We loved Idaho. It was
Yeah.
great. I don't know that we would like it now necessarily because so many people have moved in. But when we lived there, it was in the early 90s. Well, early to mid to late. It was in the mid to late 90s when we lived there. And it was still Timbuktu then. Now there's so many people that have moved in. So
Deborah, I will look at, if that's because of an order, then we should have information from you in the order, and I will look and see if I can try to contact you since you're having problems.
Let's see.
But it won't be till after
Lynn,
the show.
I bought your book in 2005. Is volume 1 mostly the same? Yes, there's 40 more recipes in here and 2 new chapters, but it's basically the same book. I mean, we added more when we did the new editions, but yes, it's basically the same book. Okay. Do you have?
I did not have a lot of other questions.
Tammy, is it too late to plant garlic? Yes, but plant it in the fall and let it overwinter, and then harvest it next late spring. What area in Idaho do you recommend? Well, I mean, it just depends on what you want to live. If you want, they have super, super rural, or you could go to Coeur d'Alene or Boise and then have city type stuff. We lived super, super rural. We had 400 people in the town we lived in and no grocery store, no nothing. There was a co-op gas station. There was a doctor, and there was the UFO hotel where the UFO people would meet for their UFO meetings.
Yeah, we lived in Nez Perce, Idaho, which was pretty remote. Up by Grangeville is probably, it was the closest town, but Lewiston was the closest town of any size.
Well, we had to drive 70 miles each way to get groceries, and after we had kids, it just got to be too much. But it was really nice. I mean, we liked it. People are kind of standoffish, but that's just the way they are because it's a small town and you haven't lived there your whole life. So you just have to expect that. But I had already lived in small towns several times in my life, so I already knew that that was going to be something, so it's fine. Do we plant comfrey? I am planning on planting some this year, but yeah, I really like comfrey.
Oh, hey, Deborah, if the issue is about getting a newsletter or something like that, you can go to the contact and send us an email through there, and then it won't send it from your email and we'll be able to get it. But the thing that does the newsletter is separate from contacting us through the contact form, so hopefully that helps you.
Holy cow. Somebody says they've got a quote for a smaller size wood stove to install, and they said it's a minimum of $7,000, more like $8,500. That's in a 6-month wait time. That's crazy.
Someone said about insurance may require, yeah, that's, we're going to check with insurance and with the county and stuff like that before I try to do it.
Well, Mom said that she thought her insurance would cost more, and she's like, well, good grief. If it costs $10 more for insurance a month, it would be worth it for us just to put it in and pay the extra $10.
Yeah. Julie, question, I've been using cat litter plastic tubs for beans, rice, flour. Do these seal well enough? And is my garage not good for this? It gets hot in the summer and cold in the winter.
You know, if you cannot store food in the garage, especially when you have something like that, I would say no, don't if you can. The cat litter containers, I have never had issues with it. I do sprinkle some diatomaceous earth all over my stockpile room, or my extra food wherever I'm at. And so that keeps the bugs killed. I've never had mouse issues getting into the cat litter box, cat litter things. So Yeah.
I just saw a question I was going to answer.
Nancy, gluten-free pasta lasts a really long time, like 5 years.
Jane from the country, Mike, are you paying extra on the mortgage every month? Not yet. So I think Tara mentioned about the books, but what happened is we ordered, when we moved here, we got rid of all of the inventory we had. And we ordered new, and usually we would get it in a month or a month or two. But it turned out to be 6 months before we got it. And so we spent every dime we had left after putting all the money into the house to get more books. And then we realized by the time they got here, we were going to run out of them again. So we placed another order 2 months ago. And then we just realized a couple weeks ago we were going to run out of Dining One. So we asked for a quote on that we're about to pay. And those are very large amounts of money. So we have absolutely no money to use for anything except that at the moment. But once we have that, what we're doing is basically getting ourselves ahead of the supply chain problem.
We're investing in our own company.
We're investing a lot of money in our own company and inventory right now. So we have books to ship to people. But after this next round, we should probably be good to go for a while. And at that point, we're going to pay aggressively on the mortgage and some other things. Mainly, we could pay a little extra on it now, or if we get more inventory, we could pay a lot extra on it in a little while and still end up ahead of where we would be if we were paying extra on it now. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're thinking on that.
I don't know. I think we should get it paid off by July.
I would really like to do that.
That's being very optimistic, but it would be great.
I would really love to do that.
If we had a few more videos go viral, we might be able to do that, but it's kind of hit or miss when we haven't quite figured out our so today, so I said this at the beginning, about we were really discouraged as we were looking up the video because people don't want to know how to save money.
We were shocked.
And
we have tools that we can use to see what people are searching for and what people are kind of watching and what people seem to like. And we were looking at all the parts about saving money and saving money on groceries and stuff. And almost nobody is looking for that. Despite
nobody's searching how to save money on groceries.
Despite all the talk about inflation and food prices and everything in the news and all, very few people seem to be at all concerned about it based on their habits of like searching on the internet and what they watch and engage in. So we were thinking, well, we thought it was an important show to talk about it, but we were thinking, do we do something if not that many people are going to benefit from it?
Why are we talking about saving money if people don't want to actually save money?
And it was funny because I was using one of those tools to see what people are looking at about saving money on groceries. And it turns out that the thing that got 10 times more than saving money on groceries was, I forgot which YouTuber it was, but he was talking about how to save $2 on your fast food by ordering a combination of things instead of as a value meal. So people weren't really looking. So it seems to me to be communicating that the concern people have isn't so much how can I not starve to death, but how can I still
spend what I want to spend?
How can I still have the things that I want that just are going to cost a lot more, but I don't want to give them up.
Have you guys ever noticed? See, this has been the problem with our channel all along. Have you guys ever noticed that the money saving blogs and videos, none of them are about really saving money. They're about spending money, or they're about spending money so you can save money. It has nothing to do with actually saving money. It has to do with spending money, and people think they're saving money. What do I mean? Oh, get this Instant Pot. It's $99 instead of $149. Oh, the 10 things you got to go get at Costco this week. Oh, the 15 things you got to buy from this online company to save money. Well, you're not actually saving money. And this has been our business problem since day one when we started. No one actually wants to save money. They want to spend money thinking they're saving money, but they're not. And if you go and watch all the bloggers and YouTubers, and I'm not faulting them. This is their business. They need to earn money, and I'm not faulting them. But the only way you're really going to save money is if you stop spending money, period. But nobody wants to do that. They don't want 10 ways to reuse pickle jars. They don't want 10 ways to hand me down your kids' clothes. They don't want, oh, just use your oven instead of buying an Instant Pot. So, you know, that's been our business problem the whole time because I refuse to go in and be telling people, I mean, I tell them to buy our books.
But that's because they really save you money.
35% off right now. But that's because I know my books actually save people money by using them. They actually say your Instant Pot isn't going to save you money. I mean, people justify it by saying, well, I don't go out to eat if I use my Instant Pot or whatever. And that's fine. I'm not anti-Instant Pot if you love your Instant Pot. But I'm just saying there are ways that people can cook food at home by the crock pot or putting it in the oven and let it slow cook all day long. And they don't want to do that. And so anyway, we were pretty frustrated today because we were like, people just want 10 tips on this and that. And so we're like, okay. Well,
so we do appreciate those of you who like to come here and learn how to actually save.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, or save money on, everybody wants to save money on gas. Well, stay home. You know, you don't want to pay $1,500 for rent. Well, you might have to move. You know, I mean, it's the tough love stuff that people just really don't want to do. Or DoorDash. Oh my goodness. Don't get me started on all the DoorDashes and the delivery stuff. It's like, seriously, don't whine about not having any money. And then I see DoorDash at your door. Unless you're just like prostrate in bed sick because you can't move. That's one thing. But how many people are actually that way? And
one thing when Tara says, because I noticed, I think some people think that you're specifically talking about them individually, but when we say people want this or whatever, that just generally means that the majority of people seem to want like not to save money. It's funny, at one point when we first got some of the tools to be able to try to see what people are looking for, it was funny because I was doing all these searches and I realized people weren't looking for how to save money. They were looking for how to refinance their debt to squeeze more out of it. And I was thinking, wow. Well, and I heard somebody the other day recommend to help fight inflation, go get a home equity loan. Don't do that. You want to be paying off debt, not getting more debt. I know the interest rates are low now, but don't be getting any debt at all. No debt at all. I mean, home equity loan is like going backwards. It is going backwards. Susan, are you concerned about a recession in the next year or so? I've heard some people talk that it's potentially coming. Not sure what that will mean. In this crazy time we're in, it's a bit concerning. Yes, I think we are concerned that there will be one because of things like gas prices being high and supply chain problems and all those things. They're all related, and people that have the ability to, some of it is supply and demand issues that can work themselves out if nobody touches them. But lots of people in the government are tinkering with things, but they're not tinkering with the right things. And so I think that will cause there to be a recession. However, the thing about recessions is when they talk about it on the news, like, oh my goodness, the world is completely ending. And we've spent most of our lives with not that much money and living kind of like we've been describing, with just being careful about how you spend and cooking at home and not eating out as much and those kinds of, not buying brand new cars and not keeping a lot of debt. For those reasons, when a recession would hit, it bothered us and we noticed, wow, gas prices are up or whatever. But it didn't hit us nearly as hard as people who weren't living that way. So what I would say on that is, one of the reasons why we're sharing the tips that we're sharing is, yes, we think there's a recession coming. We think it may be worse than many of the ones we've experienced in our lives up to now. But if your relationship with money is right, if you spend less and you don't spend a lot of money on a lot of things, if most Americans want all kinds of stuff and they just want to buy it and they want it right now and they're going to put it on debt. If that's you, it's going to hurt really bad.
Mm.
If you can get to where you don't, every now and then when you want something, but it's not really a need, you buy it. But for the most part, you're kind of thoughtful about your spending, and you don't spend a lot, and you cook at home a lot more than you get out, and different things like that, then it will affect you a lot less. But, I mean, depends. We don't know how bad it could get. But what I would say is the encouraging thing is we've been through a number of recessions that we almost didn't notice because of the way we were spending. And that's what we're encouraging everyone else to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's the reason why we're encouraging it too, so you don't have to.
I mean, and I'm not criticizing these bloggers or YouTubers, guys. I'm not. This is their business, and they have to make money, and I totally get that. I'm just saying it's a problem with the money saving areas because you're not actually saving money when you're telling people to spend. And I know I tell people to buy my books, but like I said, my books actually save people money.
Most people tell us that they save more in the first week than the cost. And then after that, they keep using it for years.
I had a lady just the other day. She saved $250 the first time she went to the grocery store using Dining on a Dime cookbooks. I'm just saying.
Amazing Grace Ranch, do you recommend mortgage life insurance? If you mean those companies that send you messages saying, oh, what if you die? Who's going to pay off your mortgage? I wouldn't do that. I would get regular life insurance if you have somebody else in the family who's going to survive you, who might survive you.
If you have regular life insurance, you don't need it.
Because if you have regular life insurance is great because if something happens to one or the other of you, whoever, if something happens to the person who's insured, then whoever depends on them will have whatever money there is there, hopefully to take care of the bills that they have. But mortgage life insurance, those companies that send you that, I kind of think they're sort of scammy. All they're really doing is making sure the mortgage company gets paid. But if you die and you don't have anyone else in your money situation, that's part of the risk that they take by doing business with you. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to pay for something, it should be something that the person that survives you can use for whatever purpose. Mm-hmm. So I would be cautious about that.
Francis, what's our opinion on electric cars and everybody going that way? I think it's stupid. I mean, first of all, our grid is not. Now, my son has an electric car and loves it. I am not saying having an electric car is stupid. I'm just saying going that way for everyone is stupid. The grid cannot handle what we have now. It's not going to be able to handle everyone driving electric cars. Second, if you think you're actually saving the environment using one, it's crazy. All the processes that are used for mining and manufacturing the car are 1,000 times more, 1,000 times harder on the environment than driving just a regular gas car would ever be. So I think it's crazy myself.
But if you do the math and figure out for yourself cost-wise,
it's fine.
Our son likes his, and he bought one quite a number of years ago. He's a killer salesman though, and he negotiated a really good price to buy it. And so the way that he drives it, and the fact that near where he works, there's always a place to plug it in. So he never has free, so that he doesn't have to pay for the electricity for it. If it works out for you in that kind of way, that's really great. So,
but make sure it's actually saving you money. That goes with anything. And somebody said solar panels, money saver or not. I have not found anyone who's actually saved money with the solar panels because it costs them the $30,000 to $50,000 to put them in. By the time they get that money back from the electric company, they're going to be dead.
Well, it's good to do the math for yourself on those things because at one point we thought, wow, what if we put up, when we were living in Kansas and there was wind all the time, we thought, what if we put up a little wind turbine? Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the wind turbines and how much they cost and how long, and I looked to see how long they're rated to last. Mm-hmm. And I did the math and I realized, wow, this will never generate enough power for the amount of money it costs by the time it ends. It's what the company considers to be its usable lifespan. And then I thought about making one homemade, and I realized cost-wise, it was just never going to work at that time. Our son uses solar panels on his RV as his primary power source and doesn't have any utility bill, but he's highly technical and does a lot of that stuff himself.
And he's off grid, and so that's his whole lifestyle, and that's fine.
If you have to pay people to do the work, it's probably not going to be a benefit for you. But if you're technical enough to do it yourself, maybe. So I would say do the numbers. And like for what we did to figure out on the wind turbine is we looked at the cost of it. We looked at the company's expectation of how long it would last. And we figured that the company might be a little bit generous in saying how long it would last. So I wouldn't assume it would last longer than the company said. Then we looked at how much power we used every month and how much the power cost. And if all of our power came from that, how much would it be? And then we did the math to figure out, wow, this was never going to pay for itself. So that's the kind of thing would be good for you to do on those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I would say things like on the electric car, if you have a car that you own in the clear and you're not driving across the country every week, then I probably wouldn't change it just for that reason. But if you're already looking at getting another car and you have an opportunity, you can do the math and see how long it will take you to recover the cost in savings in electricity. And one thing is, if you plug it in at your house, you are going to have to pay for the electricity there, so you want to keep that in mind.
Yeah. What do I think about precious metals? I think if you have the money, that's fine. But here's the thing: if the fecal matter hits the oscillation unit and everything just goes to pot, I mean, you can have a gold coin, but the reality is there's probably not going to be supplies to buy, and money's going to be worthless. Yeah, I mean, gold will probably get you a little bit, but I don't know that it's actually going to help that much, to be honest, in my personal opinion. But
ooh, bird choice. Good question. Isn't there a tax write-off for solar panels? There is, but tax write-offs, if you're already doing something and it comes with a tax write-off, I would take it. But tax write-offs are designed to motivate you to spend more money, to spend $100 to save $10. So they'll say, hey, we'll give you a $10 write-off, but it requires you to spend $100. So you could do the calculation and add it in and figure out, but usually a tax write-off to get you to do something is meaning that the thing you're going to do is probably going to cost you more.
Like when they used to have the mortgage write-offs, you would get 28 cents. So for every dollar that you spent in interest on your mortgage, you would get 28 cents back on your taxes. And people would say, well, I'm not paying off my house because I get the interest written off on my taxes. That's just stupid.
Well, 28 cents was a pretty higher income too.
Yeah.
Like people with lower incomes, it would be even less savings. And the accountants would say, oh, keep your mortgage because you can get that tax write-off. But then you spend, like, let's just say you spend $100,000 to save $25,000. And that's dumb. I'd rather I'd rather pay it off and spend the $25,000 and not the $100,000.
Why would you give the bank $1,000 to have the government give you 280 of it back? That doesn't make sense. But nobody thinks of it in those terms.
Well, and there are a lot of things during, the last couple of years we've been in some times in our country where they keep saying, hey, here's a payroll tax relief. And they were telling the companies, we got letters to our company saying, yeah, you can do this payroll tax relief, and then you'll be able to reduce your payroll expenses and take home more money in your check. So I was reading the fine print because I was like, do I really want to do the bookkeeping for this? How much is that going to be? I'm the only employee. And as I was going through the thing, I realized it indicated in the fine print that it's only a loan, and that after a certain amount of time, we have to pay extra payroll tax to make up for the payroll tax we didn't pay. So kind of all those incentives are there to sort of motivate you to do something that's not necessarily in your best interest.
Debbie wants to know what's the difference between Dining on a Dime Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 is our original book. It's Volume 1. Volume 2 is just the companion, totally different recipes. This is the book that's been in print for 23 years. This is the book that is its companion that's been out 2 years now. 35% off if you buy them both now. And somebody asked, what is the green book? It's my gluten-free, dairy-free edition of this book. Okay, so it's this book here, but it's gluten-free, dairy-free. And then someone else asked, do you need a bread maker? No, I have one bread machine recipe in all of the books. I don't have people use bread machines.
Buffy says, love you guys from Australia. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. That's for sure. Is buying a bread machine worth it or not? I would say no. I would just do it in the oven. As a matter of fact, I just bought a bread machine and I'm getting ready to return it back to Walmart. So, oh, what were we saying about fertilizer? So there's a fertilizer shortage happening. And so there could definitely be crop issues this year and food shortages because farmers can't grow food very well. So what are your thoughts on buying wheat berries? Go for it if you want to. I don't like messing with that stuff, but if you want to buy your own and grind them, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. They do last longer than already ground flour.
Oh yeah, Ida, I'm not sure if she's responding to somebody else's question, but term life for the life of your mortgage. So that if you get life insurance, you should get it as quick as you can, because when you get older or more or in less good of health, then that will affect it. But they have term life and whole life, and most people don't. Term life insurance is the kind you want because it'll be the less expensive. Sometimes they'll try to sell you what they call whole life because you can get cash benefit in it, and that's kind of scammy, and you can get a lot more for your dollar if you get the term life. It just means that if you live 30 years on the term life and you don't die, you've paid all that money and then it expires and nobody gets anything. But that's 30 years worth of guarantee. She says for the mortgage. And the main thing I would say on that is I would definitely say it'll be better to do something like that, because then your spouse or whoever is left in your life can pay off that mortgage. Although if it's just you with no spouse or whatever and your kids get it, they'll probably sell it and use the money to pay off the mortgage anyway. So I would just say life insurance is a really good thing to have if there's anyone who you're financially supporting who would not be able to easily suddenly take care of themselves when you were gone.
Yeah, I always ask Mike, is your life insurance paid up before he goes and does something dumb?
Which is like ice skating.
Mary, because of my binge watching money saving videos, I no longer have cable. Good job.
Man, we haven't had cable for
like 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't miss it at all.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes if we watch something, we still have Amazon Prime. Sometimes if we watch something and they say this one has ads, we think, do we really want to watch it that bad?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you thought about writing a money saving book? No, because people don't really buy them that much. I mean, I know like Dave Ramsey, they do, but he has a whole marketing scheme behind that, which is fine. I'm not saying that's wrong, but just we don't have that set up. So
we found, unfortunately, there are some things that people request that I know the people that request them would definitely use, but things that seem to make sense, we found people don't necessarily want, and we've made a lot of books in the past that nobody bought. So anyway, so by the way, back to the thing about gold, just for a minute, or precious metals. The thing about precious metals is they're good to buy before, they're good to buy as assets because their value will increase as inflation goes. Kind of like real estate is another thing that its value tends to increase when the value of the dollar goes down. So basically you're just taking money out of cash and putting it into something else. So in that kind of a sense, if you had precious metals now and inflation went crazy, you could sell it later when inflation was really high and get more cash for the temporary, or you could just save it until inflation went away. But if the economy completely crashed and the dollar got replaced with some other currency, or there was no currency at all, then the precious metals wouldn't be easily usable at that point. So it's useful to save the value of things you own in something other than cash, which is kind of why when we bought this house, I was kind of glad we bought it when we did, because we had a lot of cash that we were saving to be able to buy a property that could do the business and all that. And I didn't really want, if inflation went crazy while we had all that cash in the bank, the cash would have bought a lot less later. So anyway.
Linda, do we think our Babel-based videos would be watched more and people are anxious for that now with everything going on? Oh, I'm sure they're anxious for that now. I don't know if they would get watched more. People, a lot of times they don't want to know the truth. I mean, you guys know me. I'm going to tell you the truth anyway. But yeah. I've noticed many retirees getting reverse mortgages. Is that a good thing? No. They are stealing your money from you.
Yeah.
You might as well sell your house and move into something smaller that you can't afford and bank the rest of it than to get a reverse mortgage.
A reverse mortgage is, that basically it's like taking out a home equity loan on your house that increases eventually to the full value of your house.
Tom Selleck is lying to you.
And then they take then they take your house away. Well, what they persuade a lot of older people is that, you'll be taking the money out of your house and then you'll die before they take your house away. But the reality is that some people outlive that. And so then the house value just goes completely away and they lose their house. So it's really a bad thing. It's basically another way to persuade people to get debt that they don't necessarily really need.
And it takes money from your kids because they basically take the rest of your house when you're dead and your kids don't get anything, and that's just wrong.
And just a little tip from a job interview I had 30 years ago, talking to a bank, if they're super enthusiastic about making a loan to you, it's probably not in your best interest. They actually asked me in this job interview, they said the people that really kind of need the money to carry them over can't really afford it. And so we really would like to find people who can afford it and don't really need it. And then we can sell them the loan. And they wanted to know if I would take the job, scamming little old ladies by persuading them to get loans they didn't really need so the bank could make money. And so I would say on the reverse mortgages, that's definitely that kind of business. It's a scammy business, and it's really not something that anyone should do. It'd be better, like Tara said, to buy a smaller house and maybe in a cheaper location and use the cash from there and invest it in something for yourself.
Are we still planning on putting a kitchen in our outbuilding? Actually, yes. We got the lights all set up last month, about 4 weeks ago, and I was getting ready to start using it out there just to film videos, and then I decided to take a break for a while because I haven't been feeling very good. So yes, we're still planning on it. We're not working on it at the moment, but we're going to in just a little bit. So,
Kathleen says public library has tons of movies on DVD for free rental. Make use of it. Same with audiobooks on CD. Actually, libraries are awesome for that. And a lot of libraries are part of a library system where there'll be like 10 libraries all connected to each other, and you can request movies and shows from other libraries, and that's really good too.
Yeah. Let's see. Should always diversify. Yeah, you should always diversify. All right. So yeah. All right. So if there's any last questions, put it in real quick. Mother's Day sale right now, guys, 35% off. If you buy the set, it's 35% off. We only had 180 of these to start with at the beginning of the show. We have volume 2 by itself on sale, 35% off, and gluten-free, dairy-free by itself off. And our volume 1 is 25% off because we're almost out of those, but we have enough gluten-free and volume 2 for that. Now, holy cow. All right, well, let me go look real quick while Mike sees if there's any last questions. We just got a whole bunch of sales, so actually we may be getting close to running out of volume 1 and 2. No, we still have some in stock. Okay, so we still have volume 1 and 2 in stock right now at 35% off, guys.
Yep.
All right, any last questions that we have? Ooh, Frankie had the garlic chicken for dinner. That is so stinking delicious. We absolutely love that.
I was going to mention, Missy, for those of us that are debt-free other than the house, what will happen if millions can't pay their monthly mortgage? If you mean you're one of the millions, I'm not really sure what will happen, but in the Depression, the houses were getting foreclosed on and taken away. Yeah. So I would be concerned about that. But I'm not really sure that's how it would go. Hopefully we won't be able to find out in the near future. So
hopefully Jesus will come back before that.
yeah.
Also, if you guys need a free Bible, we give away free Bibles to anyone who needs it. If you cannot afford a Bible, please go to livingonadime.com, go to the shop, click on free Bible, and use the code free Bible. And
We'll also
we
share
will
the
be
link
happy
here.
to send you one, because we want everyone to have the Word of God that they can read in a large print, easy to read form.
So you can read it for yourself.
Yep. Happy Easter, everyone. We love you guys. We will see you next week.
Yep.
Livingonadime.com. Have a good night.
Bye. You're getting it? Okay.